This is episode 253 of the Focused Mindset podcast. This is a special episode where I'm going to react to episode 249 when we had Dr. Loretta Whitson come and be on our show. It was over an hour of wonderful conversation. I'm going to take a minute to highlight some of the parts at the very end that really touched me and talk about my opinion of it all. Let's go. Hello, how are you doing? I am so glad that we're here today. There is a couple of wonderful leaders that I want to do a recap about. There's just no way that I can cover everything that I was thinking about while I was talking to them unless I do a recap. And this is my first one. It's really going to kind of focus on leadership. As I was talking to the leaders that I've been bringing on the show, it surprised me what happened when I asked them about leadership and the way that they look at it. People who have reached leadership, real big leadership roles that we think, wow, I'd really aspire to do that, or, oh, I'd be scared to do that. It wasn't the thing that you would think of that they do every single day that motivates them. It's something deeper. It's something intrinsic. And we're going to listen to Loretta talk about this. I want you to especially listen to the way that she talks about how people have said, you suffer a lot, and how that was looked at as a compliment, not as a put down. So let's listen into that conversation right now. I have three groups of people that I want to hear because I think it will be a little bit different answer for each. What message first we'll talk about that you would give the people going into the field of school counseling, and then for educators, and then for people that want to get into leadership and advocacy. I'd like to know what you would share with those people. Let's start with counselors.
Your life will be about having a life of meaning and purpose. Your work drives that. It's what it is. And so you don't have to create that outside of your job. It becomes your mission. And your healing of others. And so what a blessing. So I say it's a great profession.
It is. It's a blessing. You're so right.
Yeah. Educators, the way I describe that is like we're like a three-legged stool. And it won't be balanced without having counselors, teachers, and administrators, as far as the core team, and I would probably expand it a little bit and say, people that are working to support the nurses, school psychologists. That is so important to our kids. Without that, the other two are just going to be, to me, very myopic and not really getting into the things it causes. Actually, the research is so clear that it says if you go to support a kid with their academics or their career in college, going through this personal social domain, the fact about the counseling piece, the who they are as human beings, it's much more effective than just giving them the information. It's right. About the personal touch and having that. So I would tell them that it's just instrumental. The last one is leaders.
Yes, leaders.
Well, from my perspective about myself, is I have a strong moral compass. So I believe in doing the right thing. And I sometimes just, someone said to me, you suffer a lot, and I thought, well, that's not a compliment. And she said, no, that's a compliment. And I suffered with all the decisions I make. I don't take anything like, how I show up, how I am with a person. I really try to be mindful. And since we're talking about the mindfulness of it all, mindful of what the person is, what I'm trying to get to, having a moral compass to the people matter with me. And I think it's important for leaders to have that too. If they get lost, that's their North Star. People say, well, go with your North Star. I think your North Star is your moral compass, right and wrong. What is, and I know people describe it a little differently, what right and wrong. I may see it a little differently, but you're right. And if you've suffered through determining what is right and keeping focused on it, I think that's the most important thing. So some counselors have said, oh, it's wonderful that you believe in us. And I said, well, I don't know if I would describe it that way. I do. But I believe in the opportunities that kids need. That's my moral compass.
And know that it comes through that.
Counselors can get to that. And so that framing has always helped me when I get all mixed up in all the adult drama that always happens, always, then it's going back to what my compass is and where it is with kids, and try not to get pulled away into the
Mm.
drama. And if you're getting pulled away, then you need to give yourself time. Because sometimes I do. People are like, oh my gosh, what they're saying awful things about me. If it was about school counselors, like my moral and most North Star, then I
Yeah.
would lose sight of it because, someone that wasn't treating me right, that was a school counselor, would sway me. Kids don't,
Right.
because I think of them as not being adults yet, not having formed, their maturity or their ability to reason.
Uh-huh.
It's easy for me to give them grace and to understand them and try to help them wherever they're at. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and I like the idea of saying, for each person, their North Star needs to be first identified and understood, and then you can stand in it. I wonder if a lot of people sway to and fro because they haven't sat down and had that moment of like, what is my North Star? What is the thing that I can stand on above? And for you, it couldn't just be, oh, I'm trying to get more school counselors. It's because of the impact the school counselors can make on the kids.
that's
Yeah,
right.
that's huge. Yeah. And then that is that deeper thing that people see in you, because
Mhm.
that's kind of like what I talked to you from the beginning is like you can see that passion in a caring way. If people find what they care about, their values, and then move confidently in that, then whatever field they're in, they'll be a leader. And then it kind of strengthens us through the hard times because it's not always easy. I mean, let's get real.
No, it's
it's,
not.
it's not.
Let's be real about that. And sometimes you're just thrown a loop, and someone doesn't
Yeah.
think, or does it, or questions like my intention or something. But when you're a leader, you have to be able to weather those storms.
Have a soft heart, but kind of a thick skin. I know you've had people stand up straight up and just be like, I disagree with you. And you have to be like,
Yeah. Well,
that's okay.
I did have early on when we started the association, I had people from the older association go to ASCA and stand at our, they have a delegate assembly, and they stood up at the microphone and said that Loretta had taken down the whole state of California. Yeah, it was a hard moment. Yeah. Yeah, because
That's
it
not
was a,
easy.
and I had to navigate that, for a while. And yeah, I got through it. I called my superintendent that I admired. Sometimes we have really great leaders, and she was one that taught me a lot, Dr. Louise Taylor. But I called her. I said, I'm so in trouble. you know, People have heard this. I mean, they turn their head and they jerk their head away from me. They think I've done something awful.
It's like the feeling that man, I'm really not seen and I'm misrepresented. That kind of hits your heart when that kind of thing happens, you
It
know?
was painful. Yeah,
Ah,
it was really.
because you know your heart and you know you're giving it your all. And I know I feel that way when I feel like I got misrepresented. That takes me a minute. And then you have to regroup and just say, you know what? They don't. They don't know my heart. So
And
that's
I
okay.
persevere. I mean, and it was sort of, I do tend to forget harm that's done to me. I always go, okay. I would try to be mad at someone and then I forget to be mad. So
Uh,
I tend to just move on. Like, I'm
uh,
not going to waste my emotional energy on this. And that one took me a little bit, maybe a few weeks before I kind of like settled in. Like when I got back to home and no one in the school district knew what I had, except for the superintendent, what I dealt with. And so I could kind
mm-mm.
of reform. And next time I went to ask, people were fine with me. We just kept building the mountain and they would come. That's what I always said, build a mountain, they will come,
Yeah.
from the field of
And
dreams.
for the right reason.
And so as we did it, people began to understand that I didn't take down the whole state of California single-handedly for school counselors.
As a matter of fact, no.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been such a cool conversation. This is extra special that you were able to come on and our listeners are able to just get a little glimpse into who you are. So you jumped in the very end of such an impactful conversation. If you want to listen to all of it, just head over to episode 149 and you can just hear how we flowed into that. Did you catch what she said about leaders? This line just stuck in my mind. Suffered through determining what is right for you. Think about what that really means. Suffering through determining what is right for you. It's a process and it takes time. And I never really looked at that in such a deep and meaningful way until this conversation that we had. And I wanted us to ponder what that means. What does that mean for you? because all of us need a North Star. And the North Star being just the thing that guides us forward, the key thing that moves us forward. I feel like when I sit in front of people that have lost their way, many times it's because they're just treading through the next step of what they need to do each day. Wake up and go to sleep, wake up and go to sleep. And they forget to revisit the actual reason that they started the journey, the reason they're in it right now, and to find something that matters. And that is a process that we need to suffer through. We need to be long suffering in order to find that to happen. It happens through the days and the nights and the work and the processing what we've been through and what we're going through and what we think we might be going through. And doing that in such a way that is productive can absolutely allow us to level up our leadership. I personally just had this completely hit me because I many times have thought about how right now in my life, I feel very focused. I feel very drawn, as you can see on this podcast, to share with others some of the things that I've been through, some of the things that have worked, and also just to listen to people and then reach out to them to be able to just be of service. It's something that's been burning inside of me. And I think it's because of some of these very long suffering moments that I can identify that I've been through in my career. I think that school counselors have many moments of long suffering. Loretta was just talking about how someone said, you suffer a lot through your decisions, but they meant that they actually meant it as a compliment, meaning that she takes it seriously. She cares to her core. And then she reiterated that how she thinks about her interactions with people, how it's going to impact them, and the bigger picture. There's a way for us to look at leadership that is so deep and meaningful, and it helps us be real. It helps us really be the true person that we want to be, rather than just going through the motions of being a leader or the 5 steps of being a leader. And let's be confident and let's speak out in the meeting and let's share what we know. A lot of women's empowerment will talk a lot about the things we need to do to be a leader, but we find that really the attitude of a real leader comes from something a lot deeper, something like the ability to be long-suffering. I looked up what long-suffering is because that kept flowing through my mind when I was revisiting this conversation. And here are some synonyms: patient, forbearing, uncomplaining, forgiving, tolerant, stoic, enduring. Think about those adjectives. That's a picture of a leader, isn't it? What a great thing for us to think about how our suffering sometimes is exactly what brings us to the place of making an impact. Because we know so deeply what we need to be doing from such a deep place of caring that we can't help but do the things that make an impact. But it doesn't happen overnight. Long suffering is something that takes time and effort. Honestly, school counselors that are listening right now, I think these are qualities that describe you. They describe what you do every day, and people don't even realize that you're doing it because they're busy in all of their roles in the school, and they don't realize that every single day we are patient, forbearing, uncomplaining, forgiving, tolerant, stoic, enduring. When we sit in front of a student, if we want to meet them where they're at, we need to do that. We need to be forgiving when a student says, or a teacher says all kinds of horrific things about what's happening in a classroom, or maybe words they say, you're like, oh, I can't even believe that they went there. I've had kids I had one particular child, which I found it funny, and that's why I share it, where he was like, everything you do doesn't even matter. And I'm like, wow, all right, well, you found that to to hit me with, right? This was like a third grader. And I was like, wow, all right, there's a good one that you're flowing out. You don't know what you're going to hear from day to day when you're a counselor and you're working with some of the kids that are going through the most struggles and sometimes willing to lash out at you in the most amazing ways. And you're like, okay, long suffering. I am here. I remember with that same child, I leaned down at their very level while they were just in the middle of a huge outbreak of emotions. And I said, there is nothing that you can do or say that can stop me from caring about you. I am here for you. I am going to be here for you now, and I will keep being here for you tomorrow, not going anywhere. And of course, that wasn't the response that he was thinking he would get when he slammed me with that kind of put down. But it froze him in his tracks. And even though he didn't stop tantruming, he remembered it. And we talked about it later. I know that counselors have these type of moments with students all the time. And I say to you, suffer longer. Be long suffering in that way, because as you suffer through the decisions and the thoughts and the things, you're also growing wisdom. You can be suffering through a decision that you need to make in the right kind of way. The way Loretta said that she'll make decisions because it matters to her, because she cares. And how is it that she can stand up before whoever she is in the California state and stand up for initiatives with passion, and then they listen to her? It's because of the long suffering that she has done long beforehand to make sure that she has a strong moral compass, that she has a North Star that is so firm within her that when the waves hit her and a hard job comes and very awful words might even fly around, that she can stay focused. You can stay focused. I can stay focused on the things that we've called us to do. And as we follow that North Star, our direction shifts and moves, but it moves in the right direction because we've done the job of finding that. It renewed my mind to hear her talk about long suffering in that way. Well, she talked about suffering. And then it kind of in my mind went to, a fruit of the Spirit is long suffering. What is that all about? I think that's passed by, or maybe it's looked at negatively, like, oh, some battered wife is suffering through her life. And it was never meant to be that kind of thing. Sometimes we are enduring through a hard time. It is our job. It's our job to continue on till the end of that day and not let it move us. That's the stoic part of it, isn't it? Being long suffering implies no complaining. It's not about being without complaints, but not complaining through it, not being the one that's in the staff lounge just blah, 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 right? I think that's why a lot of counselors tend to want to stay away from the staff lounge, even though we do need to go in and chat with them now and then. How can we live in that complaining space and then turn and be there for someone on such a deep level that we're expected to, right? Another interesting aspect of suffering, and long suffering in particular, is that it shows a picture of persistent patience. I had a picture of like parents, right? Persistent patience. And then when I looked it up, it does say in the sentence describing it, saying his long-suffering mother was at a loss at what to do with him. We sit in front of long-suffering parents, don't we? That have been through the ups and downs with their child, that's been struggling with maybe substance abuse or some type of big issue in their life, depression. When we're sitting in front of that parent, it's like you can feel the long suffering that what they've been through. And I want us to encourage those parents. I want us to notice that long suffering and realize that that is persistent patience. It's persistent patients believing in their child and also sometimes being frustrated with their child. And it allowed me, even in some of my most recent conversations with parents, to just look at them in new eyes and say, the persistent patience that they're going through right now is to be admired. And I want to come alongside them and just have some helpful words, hopefully, right? And just be there. And so we can see how looking at our leadership through the lens of saying that we need to be suffering through our decisions and also understanding that suffering can be a thing that's bringing us to be a person of depth and a person of leadership in a totally brand new way. The way Loretta spoke about suffering through determining what is right. Look, what is right is going to be a little different, although of course we have our ethics and that kind of thing that we live by. Have you taken the time to decide what's right for you? And have you taken the time to allow yourself to ponder it and write down and feel what it feels like to be doing the right thing and then living in that? I think that's really the moral compass life. Like when you're living by a moral compass, you need to first figure out what your moral compass is and then revisit that often and see where you're at and live through it. I just know that as we do that together, those of us that are doing that are going to just level up our leadership in whatever place we've been placed in to be a leader. And it will just be an amazing thing to watch you and me and all of us find the little pockets of places that we can lead. And the next thing that Loretta talked about, she went deeper and she said that sometimes counselors are like, oh, you just work for us, that's great. And I think of that too, like, wow, she's behind the scenes kind of working for me, right? And even though that might be in some ways kind of true, and it's true with a lot of leaders, isn't that interesting though, that that wouldn't be enough for her as a leader to do what she needed to do. And I don't believe that us just being there for our students or being there for our family is enough for us to do the things that we're called to do. I think we really need to think deeper. For Loretta, she put it like she believes in the opportunities that kids need. And she believes that the counselors are the way that they get those opportunities. Right. And that's the way she frames it. And that's the way she doesn't get pulled in all these different directions, that we're all in those situations where we can get pulled this way and pulled that way. And I had somebody recently tell me, don't get caught up with this other thing that I was starting to, the shiny objects, and I was moving in that direction. They're like, you need to stay focused right now. You have a mission. You have a goal. Be steadfast in that. Be long-suffering in that. There's some things I need to fill out that are like a long application form. And oh my gosh, not my favorite thing to do, right? Do it with the thought of your mind is, why am I doing this? And I'm doing it not for just the surface level of saying, oh yeah, I want to help people, but that deeper level of understanding. For me, it's that people can rise up higher than they think they can. People have something within them that's waiting to come out. And if I can just be a small piece of unlocking that, then I know that I'm living in the exact place that I need to be in life. I do that through being a counselor, through being a podcaster, through being an advocate for counselors, and also by hopefully just exerting my leadership in the ways that I'm able to, right? I just look for those open doors and I kind of like move, it's nothing really magic about it. There's nothing really like, oh, she does that. It's just moving in the direction that I feel like I need to move and not staying still. And not, I really identified with what Loretta had said of not getting caught up in some of the negativity that happens. What a story that she shared about standing in front of the Association of School Counselors when she was at the very beginnings of leading our state, and having some negative feedback and how it shook her. And she had to go to her mentor and talk to them about it. Those things don't just go away, do they? When we're hit hard and somebody just says something so negative that just seems so off from where your real heart is, you remember it. And isn't that interesting that Loretta was able to just recall it? And she said, usually I just forget about things, but when the opportunity arose to be asked some questions about it, she still remembers that day. She also remembers the person that she went to talk to about it, how she regrouped, and how she moved forward. And that is the key. There are always going to be people that don't understand the vision that's been put in your heart, or how you choose to run your life, or the choices that you're making. And it's not for them to decide if that's right or not. It really isn't. And if you allow other people's opinions to be the things that drive you, then you'll be frozen. There was a period of time in my life that I can remember distinctly when I had to pause everything. That happens in our life where it's just not the right time and place and space for us to move forward. But if you're in that place, be long suffering and look at the reason you are, because right around the corner, there's going to be a new chapter that's opening. There's going to be an opportunity that will arise, and you will be called to take action. And are you going to be ready? Help yourself grow stronger and wiser, and just learn from whatever even awful situation that's happening, because it's preparing you for the next chapter of your life. Look, for many of us, we're getting ready to end a season of our life. The school year for educators is a natural ending and then a beginning to summer. But it's not only an ending. And that's the point I want to make, is that with every ending, it's also the beginning of something different. If you're ending something terrible, like a relationship that you wished never was going to end and it is ending, it's hard for you to see how it could possibly be a new beginning. Let me tell you, it is. You're just not there yet. So be in that moment in the type of suffering way that that allows you to have that glimmer of hope of saying, I'm here now, but this is not where I'm going to stay. I'm walking through this time in my life towards the version of myself that I need to be in order to be a leader, the leader of your own life, the leader of whoever you might be leading, right? So every ending is also ushering in a new beginning. And we need to remember this as we're coming through spring, ending that and going into summer. I spoke to a parent on the phone the other day that was getting some not great news. Many times we are the bearer, us, and along with it, administration, or sometimes the bearer of news that the parents don't want to hear. Maybe, something we found out that the child has done, or something that needs to be addressed. And it's tough to talk about. Some of the really tough things that counselors have to address, as we know, is, sometimes we're the first one that will maybe address an issue like self-harm or suicidal thoughts, or big, huge things, right? And I've seen parents handle things many, many different ways. What's great is that I can remember that there's a lot of parents that handle things in a way where I know that they are long suffering in the right kind of way, that they have patience, that they want what's best for their child. And I spoke to a parent like that recently who was saying, you know what, we're ending the year and I am looking at what I'm going to be doing in the summer. And I want to end this year as strong as I can, and then create such a summer for my child that they can just regroup, that they can grow. I'm going to take out some of these weeds, if you will, that we were exposing that needed to be addressed. And I'm going to fill it with activities and things that we're going to be doing. And what a wonderful way for them to approach that they are about to enter a new season. It's not all about that moment of hearing the hard thing that was going on with their child. They said, yeah, they went through it that night and they had to work through how they were going to deal with that. But then you're entering into something different. There is something on the horizon. Wow, I've told you, my daughter is graduating from high school, and I know that things are going to change a lot in the next year. But I want to continue running this race of parenting as strong as I can through that. It's hard because, man, the senior year it seems to fly by, and I just want to keep trying to freeze time and freeze time. It doesn't happen. I don't know why. But my thought for you as we revisited a little bit of what Loretta has is stand up and be the person that you're meant to be, and be willing to suffer through decisions to be able to find out and determine what is right for you, and have that so firm in your heart that you can't help but be a strong leader. And when you have opposition come your way, think about the reasons why. Think about what your why is, your North Star, and not the just surface level stuff, but the deeper stuff. And this is what can truly help us. Now, maybe this message wasn't exactly straightforward solution focused, but I really feel that every time that we're able to talk about the bigger picture of the reason why we're doing things in order to be able to take action, we are practicing a solution focused mindset, which is so important. So it's time for me to get going. Thank you for reflecting with me. Till next time, live solution focused. Bye-bye.